Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Some people will be drinking rum, other people will be eating breakfast. Unless, of course, you have rum for breakfast. Then you'll be doing both. All right. Morning, morning, morning. How's everybody feeling about crypto today? We're on your static image again, Maurizio.
Oh man, I don't know. It's my computer. It's playing out for some reason.
We can still hear you.
All right,
I mean,
all good, all good.
some people might say it's an improvement not to see the live version. I would argue with.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, markets is I've been watching the markets for the last couple of hours and it's been interesting. Interesting price action, right? Interesting weekend price action as well. So let's dig closer to see how it's going to pan out. But how are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling about crypto today? That's a good question.
Let's have a bear or bull as the answer to that question, and let's see where people are. Are you bearish today or bullish today? There's plenty of bulls coming through. Neutral. Okay. Somewhat bullish. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Desperate. Right. Okay. Interesting.
I'm on the I got rid of my monitor just recently and just using the computer so I can be more
Okay.
mobile. Just getting used to it. Let me share screen.
Yeah, go ahead, man. So
Okay.
market is at a very interesting point at the moment. It is interesting. Go for it, man. I want to hear what you have to say.
You see, there's less room when you're using the thing. All right, let's move all these pictures around. Okay.
Mm,
So this is Bitcoin on the weekly then. So we go back kind of 7th of April. You know, we've had a fairly clean sort of shot up. We can see that there's a few wicks that have happened along the way. The easiest way to think about wicks is a wick to the upside is greed, a wick to the downside is fear. So you can see around here that you had a lot more fear happening, and as we were going up, you had a lot more greed happening. And this is a really interesting way to think about the market, because all market participants, other than the smartest one, all market participants think they're immune. They think it's the other guy that's greedy. They think it's the other guy that's fearful. They think it's the other guy that makes all the mistakes, but it's not. The market is fear and greed, and that's it. Fear and greed. And depending on what Bitcoin is doing or what the market is doing, either fearful or greedy. And the way that you can see that is when people start going, it's going all wrong, it's going all wrong, it's going all. They're fearful, even if they phrase it in a way that's like, so hey, look, I'm not being fearful here, but do you think Bitcoin will ever come back? And then you'll see in Scott's emails, he'll say, down here, people fucking hated it. When it gets up to here, oh, I think I should buy some. And that's the way that these things work. And it's incredible when you look at it in that lens. Now, the other points that I try and make are I always show the weekly
mm,
chart, Bitcoin, and we put out these relative lines of support and resistance, and then we say, what does the candle do at the end of the week? So this candle here closed above that line, and then we had a full candle close the following week. So for the retest, then we shot up again. and we weekly closed above this next line. And then we had a full candle close after that. So these are all bullish signals for continuation. Then we had this great big candle here that just got over the 104, but weekly closed below it. And then this week, well, that's just fantastic, isn't it? That closed there, I think it was what, sort of 106. So Scott always says think in probabilities. So in the chat, what do you think the probability is that we just shoot straight up, that we retest this 104 and then shoot up, or that we come crashing down? So there's kind of three different things that can happen. So that's one potential pathway, that we come down, we retest this 100 and whatever it is, 104 line, and then we go. Or we could just shoot straight off, or we could come all the way back down here. So I would think that last one is the least likely. So for me, it's one of these two. Either it's a straight shoot up that we continue with, or it's this retest and go. So we don't know. So what we do is we drop down to a lower time frame, and then we could see it happening. Like if you were to drop down to the daily, if this was to come and retest, you drop down to the daily, and then you can see what it's doing on that line. Okay, so I'll hang there on Bitcoin. But the other thing that I'm quite enjoying is this Ethereum close. So 2,500 was the line that I picked, and you can see this because Scott took the ETH trade. And again, this was in the email. You must read Scott's daily emails. The ETH trade was in the email, explained to you how he took the trade, why he took the trade, and everything. Okay. And then if we look at this, excuse me, once we'd broken out of this bit of downside deviation and finally got a close above here, we then got into this range, this kind of 1,600 to 2,500 range. But whoosh, we rallied across it, really, really great move. Then the question is always, can we flip this old resistance into new support? Because once we can do that, then we can kick on. And we got pretty much there. So for me, Bitcoin is bullish and Ethereum is bullish. Now remember, Ethereum tends to lead. So we get a run with Ethereum, that can lift everything up. Another way to think about that is Sol and Retardio. Once you see Sol powering on, you see that coins like Retardio start to come up. The Delta, I believe they call it. So from my perspective, as I hand over to Maurizio, I'm feeling pretty bullish for this week. Oh, actually, there was one last thing that I wanted to show you. I can show you this because Scott's not here to tear me anew. And it's the Bitcoin dominance. Okay, I do like Bitcoin dominance as an indicator, and I can only get away with it when Scott isn't here. So if you actually, let's take this on the monthly. All right. Okay. When we get up to this kind of 71, okay, this is when we get the rejections. Okay. 71 is when we get the ejections. This is when we get the alt seasons that are like, oh, it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. This is amazing. Okay. And if you look at this steady climb that we've had, okay, you can pick out these times that we've had small alt windows. And we haven't had any mental alt windows, have we? We've just had these little small, little small, little small, little small. And just this last week or so, we had a little small. Let's drop that down to the weekly so we can see it a bit better. We got down to about 61.95%, and we had a nice little push on alts. But again, it's all going to depend on what happened. Well, no, it's not all going to depend, of course. It's just an indication that we can use. But we've got this interaction coming up with this 64% line. I think that with Bitcoin showing the strength that it is, I think we'll recapture this quickly enough, and then we'll carry on up to around that 71%, and then we'll get the rejection, and then we'll get the alt season where it's like, yes, you know, the everything is brilliant. So that's a metric that I like to use. Scott's got a different opinion. That's because he's a clever cunt, far more clever than me. So he can have these opinions and tell me what's what. So, but all in all, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, if you know what I mean. I see in the chat a lot of stuff about like Russia and Trump and negotiations and everything like that. But who's ever heard me talk about that stuff whenever I do any of my stuff? Who's ever heard Maurizio talk about that stuff when he does his daily updates? You are simply not clever enough to figure out, you know, if you know you just can't, and you've got to forget that stuff. You're just watching too much news and getting too much influence and thinking that you're too clever. So all of this, oh, I'm going to do my stuff by what happens with Trump. Forget it. Just forget it. It's not you. Okay. So it's not the way to judge the market. It really isn't. If you can do it like that, then good for you. You should be on for $1 billion or more, because you are simply the best of the best. But just forget all stuff about Trump and sanctions and China. Just forget it. Over to you, Maurizio.
No, with that being said, yeah, obviously one of the things is what we think is going to happen, and the other thing is what actually happens in the markets, right? And price action and all that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, price action will sort of show you what the mainstream is in terms of everything. Let's start. Let me share the screen and. All right, do you guys see my screen now? And for some reason, my internet is a little bit slow this morning.
It's just firing up. I'm sure it'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, awesome. So yeah, I was looking at the market this morning because over the weekend, it was quite interesting. Let's just start with Bitcoin, right? I have a few things that I want to share with you guys today. But the Bitcoin weekly, of course, you know, we just closed the weekly. On Friday, right, or last week, I actually drew these lines here, the yellow lines. Why? Because this is a channel that, if you think about it, this is the highest high that it was on December, and this is the highest high here on the next between January and February, give it or take. These are sort of the levels that the market has ever been the highest high, right? So I'm watching closely what's going to happen on this one. This is a weekly sort of levels. Now, if we do break above, obviously we're going to go into what we call price discovery, right? Like, and you know, if Bitcoin goes into price discovery, right, there is a bunch of altcoins going to follow, right? Like the influx of capital is going to come in and all that sort of stuff. So I'm watching this closely. Is this going to happen today, tomorrow, the next week, the next year? who knows, right? It depends of the levels, if people want to buy technically, right? Let me just ask you guys, right, at the moment, do you think the 1,600 is a good price for Bitcoin? Is cheap or is not? Would you buy it now? Like, if you think that's a good price, essentially? What do you guys think? Buying Bitcoin at 106. And don't be shy, just shoot whatever you think. Right. So that's basically what the market is, right? A lot of people think it is. A lot of think that it's not. And that's what the fair value and all these things create. Why? Because obviously it's whatever you think is what the price is going to be at the end of the day. If a lot of people think that 106 is cheap and this is going to go to 1 million, then it's cheap. If a lot of people think that this is going to pull back and 106 is way too expensive, and then 96 is or 92 or 98,000 is actually a good level to buy, then that's the price it is. You know what I mean? So what's the masses going? What is going to happen here? Who knows? We just have to go by the price action, right? Like, essentially, long term, it looks pretty solid. Like, it's trending to the upside. Let me just zoom out here. So this is a really, really healthy trend. Like, if you compare this trend with the S&P 500, this is a beautiful trend, right? Like, Bitcoin is doing weekly upward trends, right? And if you can go from what happened here on the breakout of this sort of consolidation period, call it that way, that will happen in October. So we can either be pulling out the same sort of level, right? Or we can actually just go into the breakout. So these periods are very, very interesting. There's a lot of volatility. So yeah, we just have to be open to both scenarios, right? Technically, that's what I'm at. I'm never sort of too bullish. I'm never sort of too bearish. I'm just seeing price action and then just open to different scenarios. 1, the breakout. 2, the pullback. And 3, the range, which is, I don't know. That's kind of in my books what I'm sort of more inclined to, the range. And what I mean about the range is, let me just put the brush. Give me 1 second. Where are you? All right, here. So range is something like this. Right? Can Bitcoin do a range thing? What do you guys think? Is that a possibility as well? Perfect. So, and yeah, it's one of the things, Vincent. Vincent has a really, really good point. And after the next pullback is going to the moon. It's one of the things that we don't know, right? Because this could go to the moon tomorrow, like that. Can that happen? Yes. Okay. What are the chances? Who knows, right? We just go by what the market is giving us. But then if we do have a pullback, let's imagine this scenario as well, Vincent, and that's why I'm always open to every single possibility, right? So let me just clear all these drawings. But when you talk pullbacks, and this is weekly, by the way, when you talk pullbacks, pullbacks are interesting as well, because pullbacks, if this is a pullback, when the market comes there. Now, if the market comes around here, right, market could actually do this. So where is the pullback? How far the pullback is going to go? It's going to go to 97. It's going to go to 70. It's going to go to actually clearing these lows on 47. You know what I mean? Like, so when we talk about pullbacks, we don't know where is the next pullback is going to happen technically, right? The only thing that we can actually do is, price to what we see as we going through, in a way. So obviously, those are my three scenarios. Obviously, I'm more inclined into the range side of things in terms of, but I could be completely wrong, right? So with that being said, right, I'm the only point that I want to make here is don't marry yourself with one outcome, like, oh, I'm going to wait for the pullback, and that's it. Or no, I'm just going to buy only the pullback, and the pullback is going to happen, because the pullback could actually be a trigger of a bearish sort of scenario. Or I'm not going to buy here because obviously, that's priced too expensive. I'm just going to see what the price reaction, because this could do something like this on a breakout sort of, if everybody's way too bullish, right? Price is going to run without you, man. So it can do something like that. Can it? What are the chances? Tell me your thoughts on this scenario. You know what I mean? It has a breakout, a little bit of a pullback, and then this goes to the moon, whatever. And moon being what? 128, 500, whatever, right? So give me your thoughts on these guys. Like what percentage do you think that this could happen? So Marlon, 25%. 20%, Graham, morning price 25.70. There you go. So we do have ranges, and if everybody has their own opinion in terms of percentages of how likely is this to happen. The only thing that I want to highlight here is, I don't know, you don't know, so we have to be open to every single possibility. Obviously, we're more bullish than bearish at this stage, but just don't try to be, what I mean, put yourselves in a box and says, this is going to be like that. We need to have a pullback before it happens, because we might not, what I mean? So that's kind of what trading is all about. Okay, so with that being said, right, let me go into smaller time frames. And so technically Bitcoin looks pretty solid. Well, I'm not able to, give me 1 second. And by the way, if at some point you guys hear me that I'm cutting out or anything, just type in the chat. And yeah, for some reason, I don't know, my computer this morning, it's probably all this price action. It's making my computer slow. So weekly open, it went almost pretty, let me open up in 4 hours, right? So 4 hours, this is now we're going to smaller time frames, right? So just this morning, we just went all the way up to 107, okay? So so think about it from the perspective that, let's analyze the weekend price action. So weekend price action, I'm talking about Saturday. Saturday was pretty dead. Sunday, this is Sunday price action, right? So yesterday, he went nuts, okay? You have to sort of take into account that weekend is a little bit illiquid, okay? There's not a lot of, oh, thank Vincent, hopefully. Yeah, let me start shutting down some stuff here on my computer to probably make things a little bit better, hopefully. Too many stuff, too many windows open. Things a little bit. All right. So, yeah, weekends are good. You know what I mean? If you do a lot of like small, like scalping and stuff like that. But weekends are a little bit liquid. There's no much. Let me show the trading volume. Yeah, volume is one of those things that I use, but I don't use. There is things about volume from trading view that I don't like, so I don't use it technically. I'd rather use the open interest. It gives me a more reliable sort of read of the market. But technically, right, just okay, so daily, obviously over the weekend, huge candle to the upside. Something that I don't like about weekends is liquidity. it's very simple to move coins to either direction. If we go to sort of a smaller time frame, let me show you why. So this is 4 hours. So obviously you can actually see a influx of buying power here. If we have a look at Ethereum, let me show you something cool on Ethereum. Something interesting though. That's why I see there's a lot of low liquidity, because I see all this stuff during the weekend, like pullbacks, stop losses, liquidations, things like that. So it's don't kind of love it to, take a breakout on a weekend. Sometimes it's rarely that happens, but then there's a highly likelihood that we can have a little bit of pullback, right? People will take some profits and things like that. So in terms of Ethereum, what I want to highlight is this is the daily, this is Sunday, this is yesterday's. It cleared all these levels here. It went down all the way down to 23, almost 2300, right? But it's holding pretty solid here, right? It's holding pretty well. So let's see what's going on today, because Mondays usually sort of set the tone for the week. I really like to wait to see what happens on a Monday. So if you think on a sort of time frames perspective, right? Usually for the week to develop, Monday, Tuesday set the ranges for what the weekly is ahead of us, right? But that's kind of what I like to sort of wait to see what's going on, what's going to happen today and tomorrow. But if he holds, right? If he holds, then more than likely we're going to have continuation to the upside. So if we have Ethereum, let me show you Ethereum from the weekly perspective. We drew this while back last week, right? And we have full rejection on this support resistance level right here. That's why I say, from the scalping perspective, if you draw these lines and you start doing like 15 minutes, let me show you how powerful this is. So we drew this, I think 2 weeks ago or something like that, from the weekly perspective. Now you know that you have that level there. It's a huge level because a lot of liquidity. Why? Because this candle here was the one that actually broke everything down. That was on February, right? So we know that there is a lot of liquidity right there, or resistance or support, call it whatever. Now once you draw these sort of levels, if you start dropping into very small time frames like 15 minutes and things like that, you can actually take really, really good plays. So this is a small trade that I took scalping wise, right? Why bounce twice and then it failed. Just took a small scalp, you know what I mean? Like the same sort of risk reward level that you looking for a big trade, and you can stop loss around here. But then obviously you need to be here in order to trigger this trade. And it took me like, a day to get it done. But then this could actually happen quite quick. So this is type of the scalping things that I usually do. I don't share those on the group because obviously they happen too quick. And if they happen too quick, by the time that you enter, the trade is finished, more than likely. So, but this is something that I want to highlight with these levels, that they very, very peculiar how the market reacts always on a small time frames. And you can actually take good rejections out of those very, very small, tiny trades. And that could be a really good trading strategy in itself. Okay, so besides that, if we look from the daily, let's have a look at on the daily, right? So daily, I'm gonna wait to see what happens today. I don't like price actions on the weekend, but the only thing that I see that happened on the weekend is to clear all these lows, and it wasn't able to actually bring the price down. What that means is usually, if you go long, you start putting the stop losses, or start moving the stop loss, and then usually, if the market comes down, you clear the stop losses and the market moves a little bit down. That means it's a lot of power, buying power on Ethereum at the moment, at least over the weekend. Let's see if that holds. Okay. So I do like it, right? I really, really like it. but I have this level right here, the 2200-ish, because if people went long here over the weekend, then this low become very attractive to clear, you know, for institutions over the week, right? So any sort of you know, rejections out of this low, let's say, or deviations, right? I probably will be taking more trades. Like if we have this candle coming down like that and coming back, then I will take another long on Ethereum on average and probably do more, you know, out trading like that. You know, more alts. So that's basically what I'm watching. That could be that's my plan for the week, more than likely. The one that I really like is Solana. So Solana, let me just show you Solana. So essentially markets looks good. Like if you look at the majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and everything is holding, then that gives me a lot of support to start doing more trading on alts, right? That's kind of what I'm saying. So Solana, obviously same thing. Over the weekend, we have a massive influx that happened yesterday. So let's see what is, and you know, you can actually see this deviation, exactly what I'm waiting for Ethereum to happen, right? Look at these lows here, it cleared out, and then massive buying power. So let's see how Solana, you know, does. But the reason why I really like Solana is the new launch of the Launchcoin. I don't know if you guys know about the ICM narrative. I'll talk about it. I did talk about it on Thursday and Friday, but I'm gonna go into more. So obviously there is this new token called Launchcoin. Have you guys heard about that one? Just and we'll go into the charts and everything on that token and the implications on Solana. Marlon hasn't. Okay, so it's this new token called Launchcoin. Okay, and Launchcoin is sort of like a platform. Let me just talk about it now. Where are you? Launchcoin. So this is Launchcoin on Solana, and this is the token that actually this app uses, Believe, and this is kind of the new hot narrative right now in the market. Okay, what it is. Think about it from the perspective of that's why I'm more biased into Solana than any other things, and I think this is going to bring a lot of capital influx into the Solana network. So Believe is the new narrative. It's called internet capital markets. What it means is that anyone can launch a company, right, through the Believe app. Think about it from the perspective of they can actually raise funds, right? Let's say there's a lot of projects on Web2, Web3, right? And then you can actually download this app and you could say, technically you can actually launch your own company and raise funds through this app, right? It takes only one freaking little tweet post to actually create a token, right? So you create a token inside the Believe app, and that's powered by the Launchcoin kind of thing. So obviously the Launchcoin is sort of like the main driver of the Believe app. Within the Believe app, right, there is thousands. It was up to like on the launch, it was like 1,000 companies that it would launch, and now it's up to 5,000. And I don't know, I haven't looked at the metrics today, but this kind of reminds me, the behavior reminds me of Virtuals. You know, when Virtuals launched, this thing went nuts, and Virtuals basically went nuts because it was a platform, and inside the platform you could actually create AI, virtual AI agents that you can actually sell and you can actually do revenue on, things like that, right? So everything was embedded into the AI agent sort of narrative. Okay, now this new narrative emerged. Would I buy Launchcoin now? That's what I'm trying to figure out, right? But it looks like it could follow the same pathway than Virtuals. Okay, why? Because within the Believe app, you could actually buy tokens or buy. It's kind of the same thing of coins of very high risk, but then you can actually invest on those tokens and things like that. You can do it through the Believe app using the Launchcoin and things like that. So there's a bunch of projects that I'm following, right? That it could do pretty well. They could definitely do pretty well. So obviously all this new narratives start coming out, right? So obviously usually when the new narratives are coming out, this is the time to actually get positioned on those stuff. But it's still high risky, man. It's one of those things that I'm still, if I allocate, I will allocate like 2%, 3% or whatever of my capital or whatever. Thinking from that perspective, that is a highly risky, high reward. But then, yeah, Marlon, exactly. It's a digital incubator, technically. And don't get me wrong, it's good projects there, but it's a lot of garbage as well. So be mindful. I'm doing a small list to keep a track of, because this could be good stuff that comes out of that stuff, right? Like, and this is again on the Solana network. Therefore, that's why I'm more bullish on the Solana at the moment than Ethereum, right? So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. So with that being said, if we go into the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, Ethereum lost a little bit of momentum over the last couple of days. But let's see if this structure holds. If it does, then I'll continue betting on Ethereum. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. This is basically what I'm seeing at the moment with the data, with the price action that we're seeing right now, right? That's kind of it, man. That's in essence it for me in terms of the main market. Obviously, I just having a close look of how the market develops, and especially today, especially after the move of the weekend, which is a pretty interesting move, right? The only thing that I really like is gold. So, by the way, if you can actually buy gold or get if you use Bybit, you could use there is a token called XAUT, which is kind of like a crypto for gold. It's like the same thing, but for gold on crypto. So I'm just tempted to start a position on gold, right? And if you don't have any exposure to the markets, S&P 500, things like that, you can actually just buy the XAUT token, and that will give you exposure to gold technically, right? So that's something that I might start doing because it looks okay. Like gold could actually keep half its trend to the upside. So this is kind of the one that I'm kind of like it from a safe perspective, like a safe trade. And if the markets continue the way they were behaving, more than likely we might have a breakout on gold. So yeah, that's basically the only interesting thing that I'm just watching at the moment. Okay, so all right, so Jason, it was too late to catch Launchcoin, and we would buy their number of projects, we believe. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Obviously, it's never too late to buy anything that will keep appreciating in value. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, let me show you why. Let me launch virtuals here, okay? And this is kind of all right. Let me just open up virtual on a new tab right here. All right. So this is virtual when it was launched, right? Okay, so think about it from the perspective that virtuals were launched and then obviously had this huge appreciation value, right? And in December 12th, kind of, right, got this sort of massive upside. So from the down, right, we talked about that from the launch point to here to the first wave, it was 254%. And from the second wave, it was another 236%. Okay, so what that means is now were you too late up here? Yeah, definitely. Were you too late here? Not really, right? But if you look at this only, right, it went down, it went from 50 cents all the way to $3. And you see, oh, man, I think it's going to be too expensive to get in, and then this thing went all the way up to 450, right? So that's what I want to highlight is you don't know if it's too late or not, depends of the adoption of the technology in itself. What I'm saying is the adoption of the Believe app on Friday was about 6,000 new companies listing there. And I don't know, I need to get the metrics. So I'm seeing that the adoption could be there. How strong will last, or how long it will last, that's the point. That's the whole point of things. So if you have a lot of people trading on the Believe app, technically launching new projects, that's going to generate revenue, and that's going to fuel Launchcoin, right? So you know what I mean? That's where I'm at. So cannot say that it's too late or not. Could be actually pretty early, to be honest. If you're looking from the revenue of what they're doing, right? What they're doing, you have good tokens. Imagine, think about it from this perspective. So we have a narrative, right? We have a narrative. We have a platform, right? First of its kind, technically, right? Because obviously, this is kind of the first time that someone launches an app for people to raise money through their app with crypto, to launch their token, to do everything. So it's a pretty interesting project. And now if you go into the Believe app, then there's a lot of companies launching. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 companies that actually do pretty well within the Believe app, more than likely Launchcoin will never come back down. That's my thesis. How right am I? Who knows? But this is what I'm saying, and what I'm seeing from Virtuals and what I'm seeing from other platforms that launch very similarly. So what I'm saying is, I might start buying this, but could be highly risked. Like it could be a high risk sort of scenario, right? Because it's just a new thing that is being setting up. If Bitcoin has continuation to the upside, rest assured that this thing could actually go to $1 easily, right? Easily. So this is just kind of the beginning of it. If we have continuation, if we have a few projects within the Believe app that actually may do well, so that's kind of the thesis behind it. I just want to highlight this, guys, because this is a new thing. Just take it with a grain of salt, of course, but then and it could be very profitable, right? But it could be, if we don't have any adoption, then the Believe app results to be a fiasco, whatever, and all the companies within that are trash, then more than likely this is not going to have continuation, right? Will this have a pullback? Who knows, man? This is very tough to do technical analysis with. You know what I mean? This type of we just go by the narrative, by what I'm seeing in the Believe app, what have been launched, what type of projects, and by the way, like I have a bunch of little companies that are launching the Believe app that I'm tracking. So for instance, Bitcoin, there's good stuff, there's a lot of garbage, right? But if you start seeing that all these projects keep sort of generating revenue, Bitcoin, whatever that is, Theranos, seriously, just laughing at this shit, man. Tickeron, I don't know. There's a few things that could be interesting, right, long term. But if you start seeing that all the stuff more than likely has continuation, people keep buying this stuff. This is all companies within the Believe, by the way. Buddy, fucking Noodle, that's a game, I think it is. So I'm just trying to do in the research, because this could be the new meme sort of scenario. This could be the new sort of yeah. So I think, what I mean? Like I wouldn't mind start buying Launchcoin, to be honest, in the back of that thesis. So, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's cool, no problem. I lost 5% of my portfolio, 10%, whatever you allocate with. But if this has continuation, then could be a good, start buying opportunity? Would I buy everything right now? No, I might start staggering buys. And if we have more pullbacks, I'll keep buying. Probably that could be my strategy on this one. But it looks good based on that, right? If anything start changing, and if start seeing projects going to zero, you know, I mean, like all these main projects going like to zero, then I'll reassess my thesis. That's basically, you know, kind of what I'm saying and what I want to share with you guys today, because this is kind of like the new appetite. What I'm saying is a lot of people, they want the appetite of a lot of gains, right? Speculation comes back in, all that sort of stuff. So this could be the new, instead of, you know, last season was the meme coin, you know, all the meme stuff on Solana and all that sort of stuff. And it was meme coin and the AI agents. So we could actually be early on this sort of trend, take it that, but be aware. I will not be doing any updates or anything like that on this one. This is something that I'll be doing on my own portfolio. So yeah. So yeah, besides that, guys, still tracking the same things as that I'm tracking, right? To get position on, you know, where are you? Yeah, say, where are you? Start now is getting to a level that I want to sort of go risk on, right? So I want to see how market behaves today. But I'm looking into, say, same thing, deep, right? Deep is be holding this level pretty solid. As you can see, every time it comes back down, there is, you know, they've been front run, right? Like the lows have been front run. So what that means is there is appetite for this one. So I really like deep. Citus, same sort of thing, right? Because obviously this is on the back of SUI, right? So as long SUI holds, more than likely I'm gonna go into deep. Cetus, and we already on Cent. So Cent is not what I want it to be. I want it to be stronger. That doesn't. Hold on. 1 second. All right. So yeah, and AI 16. Those are the main ones that I'm watching, right? So let me just get rid of this volume. Yeah, so those are the main, those, because AI 16 is still a platform. So obviously, so from the fundamental aspect of it, think about it that there are a lot of good platforms out there. AI 16 is one of them to create AI agents and things like that. And then Virtuals is still, I'm looking into it. Is Virtual finished already? I don't know. I haven't seen metrics. The metrics haven't actually sort of increased that much. So yeah, market's getting interesting. Where to allocate? That's the question. So yeah, I just want to highlight the Launchcoin thing because I think it's a pretty interesting project. Risky, yeah, definitely, but you know, that's basically what you look for in a high risk, high reward sort of scenario, right? And it does have a good thing. Then we'll start buying stuff on like tokens within the platform. Who knows? I'm gonna start doing some more research. So within the week, I'll see if we can get some good companies or some stuff some good projects, basically, right? So that's it, guys. I don't have anything else for you. But it might start getting really interesting this week. You know, if Bitcoin continues to go up, now we see new narratives coming up. Now we see a lot of speculation. So that could actually drive stuff up. You know, I'm waiting. But we did have good trades though. We've been having good trades. So yeah, looking forward to if this market continues like that, I think it's going to give us a lot of good entries. Okay.
Amazing, Maurizio. Thank you. Looking forward to your updates in the group.
All right, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Don't know if you have any other questions or I don't know.